Welcome to Parallel Music. I'm your host, Gabriel Perez. This is Music One-on-One. Hashtag and follow us at Parallel Music. Today, we're going to be speaking with a very eclectic musician. She's multi-talented, plays a bunch of instruments, plays the flute, plays the keyboard, she does singing. Her name is Abe, and she's going to be playing some of her songs for us today, and she'll also be telling us a little bit, be playing some of her new album that will be coming out soon, and she's going to be talking to us about her background in music. So Abe, thank you for joining us today here on Parallel Music.
Thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you. We want to start asking a little bit about your background. Now you've got just across the board, you're so talented. So tell us, how did that come from? How did you get into music? You know, where did you first pick up your first instrument?
My first instrument was piano. We had one in the house when I was growing up, which I used to just like to make a lot of noise on, and eventually started picking out songs, and my family was very supportive and helped me out with music lessons. And my dad's a musician also, a jazz musician, so that brought improvisation in early on. I started playing with his band when I was young, and continued with classical music through lessons for years, and picked up the flute a couple years later. And when I was about 14, started playing guitar and
Wow. So what
singing.
prompted you to pick up all these extra instruments after, playing the flute first?
That's
I'm
a
sorry,
good
the
question.
piano.
Yeah. I enjoy that process of learning things. I like to shut myself in a room and just play endlessly. And that process of discovery with different instruments, I play about 10 now.
Oh, wow,
I'm always
really?
trying to learn new ones, so I haven't incorporated them all into the show yet, but I enjoy that.
So you're ever expanding library of instrumentation that you're working with. So you're very experimental then. How did that come to be?
I would say a process of wanting to work in so many different things. I mean, I loved the classical music. I loved jazz. I loved all the music I heard on the radio growing up. And some of the bands like Radiohead and Beck and Fiona Apple, Amy Winehouse, a lot of different people that did really out of the box sort of things. And I wanted to do that, and yet the approach came from how I learned to play music. So having space for improvisation is important to me. Having composition is also important to me from the classical music, and then all sorts of stuff, world music. I mean, I just like to see how can I combine two things that have never been put together before, see what
Like
happens.
in a mashup kind of scenario.
Yeah, exactly, live mashup.
Now your dad was a jazz musician, you said. How did he give you lessons? Did he teach you? Did you just kind of absorb it? How did that find its way
A
into
lot
you?
of it was absorption, but then also he totally took me under his wing, and as soon as he thought I might be able to cut it, brought me up to play with his band, which I was completely terrified about, but
Oh wow.
it was
That's
good. I was a very shy kid, so it was good to kind of get pushed out there and just start going with the flow and learning how to navigate situations on stage, from a very young age. So
Tell us a little bit about that first performance. How did it feel being on stage, doing that?
I was definitely nervous about it and not sure how I would do. I kept it simple at that time. I didn't want to like branch out too much, but then I started realizing over time, push it a little bit, and the audience might respond. So.
Got it. All right, so we're gonna be hearing one of your first songs. That's gonna be off your EP. That's gonna be releasing next week, right? And tell us a little bit about the song you're gonna perform.
I'm going to do a song called Ghosts, and this one it has a lot of different influences. Like I was saying, I like to bring a lot of different things together, and part of it is definitely about Los Angeles, and I live between Echo Park and downtown, where it's a very rapidly changing neighborhood, and I wrote part of this song downtown where you can see the neighborhoods changing. So the idea of ghosts is the idea of something having a past, and there's the bright new future, but you have to reconcile those two. So it's personal, but it's also in the environment, in the world, something that I think everyone experiences it's just a part of life. So,
All right. Let's hear that song then. Let's hear Ghost.
Pershing Square on my lofty windowsill, perch concrete and steel above downtown merchants. I gaze through dusty glass, overdated neon, people digging through trash. What do I choose to take in the view? Instead of the people in this room, and here I am trapped in my head again. I'll build myself a bridge back into the world with these words. I got a part in this, these streets, a history of debris, these walls where dust still falls. They say every house has got a ghost. If you can make peace with it, you can stay. If you can make peace with it, you can't stay. There's people ice skating, families and lovers coming and going in urban canyon draped with shining signs of restaurants, jewelers and showtimes. Now how many ghosts must walk these streets, haunt these walls where karma still calls on us to act out the inverse of our past? These streets, a history of debris, these walls where dust still falls. They say every house has got a ghost. If you can make peace with it, you can stay. If you can make peace with it, you can't stay. In my dreams, I keep visiting the same mountain house. Make I leave through the door like words from a mouth. It's all plain white with windows for eyes. I go inside and I draw the blinds. No one comes and no one goes. We're drawn from the wild, but I'm not yet alone. 'Cause every house has a ghost, as every person has a shadow. The darkness that falls behind you, I'm haunted. What they say is true. But if I can make peace, oh, if I can make peace. Yeah, these streets are history of debris, these walls where dust still falls. They say every house has got a ghost. If you can make peace with it, you can make peace with it, you can make peace with it, you can stay. These streets are history of debris, these walls where dust still falls. They say every house has got a ghost. If you can make peace with it, you can stay. If you can make peace with it, you can't stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Abe. That was Ghost. I want to remind you that we're Parallel Music. You're watching Music One-on-One. You can follow us on Twitter at #ParallelMusic. And we're speaking with Abe today. She's playing some of the new stuff from her upcoming EP. And we're talking a little bit about her background. So, Abe, thank you again for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's talk about what you're up to these days. You're getting out. You're playing out with other bands. You said. Tell us what are you up to these days?
Well, I'm really excited to be releasing this EP June 5th next week. So that's been a while in the making. It's going to have that song on it and 4 other tracks and a really amazing band. One of Marvin Gaye's bass players, the drummer I play with in another group, the Translucent Ham Sandwich Band. We also released an album this year. That's a whole other wild experience worth checking out. I think Googling it will work to find that one because it's an uncommon name. Yes, yeah. The Translucent Ham Sandwich Band. I jam with a reggae band a lot called Dub 8. We do like reggae soul ska all over Southern California, and I've backed up a whole number of different musicians. Played with Robbie Krieger from The Doors. I've played with Andy and Shakar, the Persian musicians, different orchestral gigs,
Now, when you
recording
do
on people's
these,
albums, all sorts of stuff. So
excellent. When you do these other gigs, you know, you play the flute, you do this kind of stuff. What do you find yourself doing most in when you're playing with musicians?
you know, I people call me because they need a keyboard player because that's a very common thing to have in a band. And then once I play the flute, then they're usually like, "Oh yeah, we can use that. Let's do that." So, but also, I mean, I've gotten a lot of the gigs I've gotten and a lot of the musicians I've gotten to know because the flute is a very portable instrument. I'll just carry it in my
Oh, yeah.
purse if I go out, and if I see a band playing, then usually not stepping on anyone's toes to be like, "Hey, you want some flute?" You know?
No, let me ask you about that. When you do play or perform with a band, do you have to do a lot of preparation with it? Can you improvise at all?
It totally depends on the show. So, because my background, I do read, and so sometimes they want specific parts, but a lot of the time people do call me when they just want someone to come jam because I love to do that, and I feel like I do really well when I don't know what's going on. So,
Right, and the EP that you've got coming out this week. So, what interesting things can we expect from that we're not hearing here?
well, there's going to be a full band on it. Yeah, it's a big production to get the whole band together, but you know, backup singers and horns and bass, drums, guitar, all that. So, and definitely, actually, on that last song on the EP, there's flute and horns and everything in the mix too. That I just can't quite make it all happen at once solo. But so yeah, that's a big thing to look forward to.
Are you learning any new instruments right now that we may be seeing or hearing on that album?
Let's see. Well, nothing that I'm learning right now is going to be on that album because timing just didn't work out.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
But
what kind of things are you learning right now?
right now, well, actually, a really fun little one was those jaw harps.
Jaw harps?
Mm-hmm. Make
Can
like
you
a
tell us
boing,
what that
boing,
is?
boing sound.
Is that like
You
when
put it
you
between your teeth. It's a folk instrument, and my dad sent me one for Christmas, and it's a simple little thing, but it's really fun to play with. So
so we can look forward to that in
yeah,
the future?
I'll try to figure out how to work that in the near future.
Now, when you do write and you incorporate these new instruments into your repertoire, how do they find their way into the songs? How do you decide? Oh, I'm going to use the flute on this one. I'm going to use this on that.
Yeah, that's a difficult process. We end up recording a lot of stuff and throwing it away because there are so many things that could sound really cool on a song. I mean, pretty much any instrument played well is going to be enjoyable to listen to, right? So then you just have to sort of take the group of songs that you're trying to put together as an album and then each song individually and think like what would really bring out the vibe of this, and then also what's going to cross between songs. You know, how can we draw a common thread between all these different songs?
Right. So, how do you determine? Like, do you find that sweet spot? You just is it just you play it and you figure it out?
um, yeah,
Well,
I think so. Like, I mean, just a lot of listening back to things. The way studio recording is now is such a blessing that you can
you can
afford
just
to
hear it
experiment
over. Yeah.
and try different things. And I love that as I learn
So,
instruments too. I can start playing parts back and
mhm.
hear myself. You know, I teach a lot too, and I encourage my
Yeah.
students to do the same.
So you got the second song coming up. Are you going to be using the flute here with that?
I will, yes.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about that song you'll be playing?
Yes. The next one is called Going Off Somewhere, and I did, in fact, write this when I went off somewhere. I was out on a trip in Joshua Tree, and I kind of stepped back from everything I was doing for a while, and so this was a song that kind of was me bringing myself back into reconnecting with myself as a songwriter and musician and deciding what direction I wanted to take it in next. And so, you know, the songs often function that way is to help me ask myself a question. So this was my answer
All right. Well, we're
or my
excited
question.
we're excited to hear that. Let's hear that song.
I'm going off somewhere. There ain't no train, no road, no way for you to meet me there. You to meet me there. And I told you you can't find me here. I can't take you there. We won't get nowhere. I'm going off somewhere. There ain't no train, no road, no way for you to meet me there. You to meet me there. Please don't ask me or I'll lie. Please don't tell me or I'll cry. This is not goodbye. This is just for time. Thank you.
This is Parallel Music. We're Music One-on-One. I'm your host, Gabriel Perez, and we just witnessed a great performance by Abe, who's our guest today. She's performing some new material from her upcoming EP, but I believe that song was off her previous album. And she's telling us a little bit about that new album. So let's get into that. Abe, thank you again for being here with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for playing that. That was beautiful, and
Thank
I
you.
really love the transitioning that you did on that. That's
Thanks.
super effective. How did you come to figure that out, or
You know,
arrive at that?
that was a band that I played with in Pennsylvania for years, where I'm originally from, and we used to cover Led Zeppelin, Ramble On, and they have those guitar parts, the do 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 do, and we didn't have two guitars, but we had a guitar and a flute.
Oh,
So I started playing the guitar harmony on the flute, and then eventually realized, like, oh. And then people were like, what? So it's become a fun thing to work into the set.
how difficult is that to try and transition from one? And you've probably done it a
It's-
lot at this point, but
Yeah, it's all repetition, as is everything. So it's kind of like rubbing your tummy and patting your head or something, or figuring out how to play two hands on a piano.
yeah.
Just have to get the balance down of everything. So
All right. Well, so what's next for you? What do we have coming up in the future? We've got your EP release, and that's going to be June 5th, you said?
right,
We can find out more information on your website, right?
Yes.
That's abeness.com,
Right.
AEBNESS.com. And so tell us a little bit about what kind of the tour is upcoming, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm booking for the summer right now, so those shows will all be up on the website, and gonna be working with some radio promoters on that, and it's definitely, because it's an eclectic release, I'm not quite going for top 40, but I'm going for all those outside the box thinkers that might appreciate what I'm up to. So just trying to get it out there as much as possible and make new friends who enjoy my music.
Of course. And where can we expect to find you around town?
Definitely at the Mint at the CD release party, and I'm going to be doing one of the street food cinema events this summer as well. I think that's in this area. It's a really fun family-oriented event.
Here in Pasadena?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's somewhere, Eagle Rock, Pasadena, somewhere in the center of town. I forget exactly where. But and then I'm going to be doing a big St. Jude's charity event coming up in the fall, also locally.
Okay, so we'll keep our eye open for that. Now, this album, tell us a little bit about the process for creating it and the songs that you put on it.
With this one, the songs some of them are really recent, and then some of them I wrote a few years ago, and I've just been, especially because I like to experiment, I kind of waited until I had a much larger body of songs than I needed so that I could start picking the ones that felt like they went together in some way. So it's still an interesting mix. You know, we've got a ballad on there that's kind of dark and goes into like a whole thing at the end, and we've got some more upbeat, almost pop rock alternative type stuff. But even in talking to the radio experts, it's been a challenge to figure out where to place it, but a very exciting combination of things.
So would you say, you said you wanted some the songs that go together, so would you say there's a theme, or what would you say that theme is, if there is one?
I think definitely my rootsy influences and like sort of the jazzy, bluesy kind of vibe comes through on a lot of the songs, kind of funky vibe too. And my life since I've lived in LA, there's been a lot of very colorful things to witness and, you know, experiences that are definitely a lot of the making of this music. So that would have to be the theme.
Okay. Now looking forward, we can find you where? Where are you located on social media?
You can find me on Facebook.com/AEBmusic. You can always search or hashtag Abeness, AEBNESS. That's me on YouTube, on Twitter, on SoundCloud, on Instagram, everything. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're particularly looking forward to on this tour this summer?
Well, actually getting to play places other than LA. I love LA, but it's not a town that is oriented to live music. Here we are doing this for TV. So it's a great town for packaging things and spreading them to the world. But it's really nice when you get outside of a town to places that don't have so many musicians, and you realize that just music itself is a real treat, and that people just appreciate music, period. You don't have to be, you know, famous. You don't have to be the next greatest thing. It's just that is an important part of life for people, period. So I'm looking forward to that.
Does that mean you're going to be traveling outside of Los Angeles, or?
Yes.
Oh, what other areas will you be going to?
The plan is to focus up the coast for this one. I hope to do something cross country within the next, year, but that's ambitious. So one step at a time,
Yeah. So the album itself, it's titled or the EP? I'm sorry.
It's self-titled.
Self-titled
so
EP?
Abe, yeah.
All right. So we're gonna hear the third song now, and that's off of this EP. So we'll see that coming up. So you're watching Parallel Music. We're gonna finish off with Abe. She's gonna be playing us her third song there. You can follow us at #ParallelMusic, and this is Music One-on-One. So Abe, before we go, would you tell us a little bit about this last song?
Yes, this one is definitely fitting with the theme that I described of my life in LA. There was a phase where I was working several part-time minimum wage type jobs and just hustling nonstop and feeling that, that craziness of trying to make everything work in the city and trying to kind of come up to the next level and just do anything to survive. So I was actually washing dishes and realized that when I'm singing my favorite songs, because you always want to stay involved with what you love, then it starts to taint the songs to associate them with that environment. So I wrote this song to have something to sing while I was washing dishes that suited how I felt.
That's
So that's
excellent.
what this is.
All right.
This
well,
one's called Repetition.
Repetition. So this is Parallel Music. Abe, thank you for joining us again. Will
Thank
you
you
please
so
play
much.
us out on that song?
Repetition, 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 yeah. Gonna sing a repetitive song, cause that's how I'm feeling all day long. Washing dishes, taking orders, sweeping floors, returning phone calls. Yes, how may I assist you for here or to go? How many splendors in your latte? Direction to the mall. Is there anything else I can do for you today? Yes, I'll call you that cab right now. As for me, it's hop the bus, another 7:21 o'clock. Rattling by the same bus stops, now approaching Wilshire and Santa Monica. The same old crazy, same old drunk, yeah. Still no seats and too much stuff, but at least I'm on my way, I'm on the up and upset. Here's my card, let's keep in touch. As we're rolling through the motions in this American dream, till I'm losing touch. I don't know what I need, it's me doing it, but in the end, it's all it means. Repetition, 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 yeah. I'm still singing this repetitive song, cause that's how I'm feeling all day long. Yeah, we're all fast-paced, and I take away through information up to my neck deep in, just to keep my head above water. What version is next? Which brand is hottest? Clutch in, break off, green light, take off, yeah. Shoot a text, sip espresso, time to run and slip my dress until night's done. So late again, morning comes, I hate myself again. I've been eating superfoods and doing yoga Pilates till night falls, and it's Red Bull and vodkas and crack on the streets and cocaine in the high-rise. We all in between and some cheap for wild times, and just buzzing through the motions in this American dream till I'm losing touch. I don't know what I need, it's me doing it, but in the end, it's all it means. But it's rolling through the motions in this American dream. I'll be running full speed if my feet would touch the ground. You'll hear me shouting, and my voice make a repetition, 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 repetition. Fighting for freedom in the world, fighting for peace in our minds. At least we're free to buy this and free to want that. So busy trying to get it that I can't even feel it, and there's nothing really comfortable about being numb. I've been collecting lots of pieces and ignoring lots of sums. Doesn't really matter when it's all said and done. It's just a little bit more repetition, 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 repetition. Is this it? Is this all? Can I break through this wall of noise? Can I have one sec to? Can I have just one sec to? Can I have just one sec to hear my own voice? Thank you, guys.